The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.
In 1887, the first law establishing the CPA designation was enacted. Hi, I'm Scott Cheslowitz, CPA and partner of the firm Rothenberg and Peters. For decades, our firm has represented individuals, corporations, partnerships, as well as estates and trusts successfully through the maze of the ever-changing tax laws. Please contact us at rothenbergpeters.com. That's rothenbergpeters.com, or call 516-773-3200. The tax return should be the culmination of proper tax planning from the previous year. In 1887, I do not think CPAs could have predicted the complexity of tax laws today. Tax planning is the first step to a well-prepared tax scenario. Please feel free to contact us for a comprehensive tax review. Visit rothenbergpeters.com. That's rothenbergpeters.com, or call 516-773-3200 for an immediate appointment. Hello, everybody. Scott Cheslowitz here with another round of Tax Talk. Ta-da! No drum roll. I have an esteemed guest with me today, Neil Himmelstein, and he's not unfamiliar to you all. He has his own radio show. He's an excellent professional. Neil, tell us again a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Neil Himmelstein. I have a show on Fridays at 3 called The Main Street Code for Financial Success, and my focus is on insurance. And I'm an independent wholesaler that handles life insurance, annuities, disability, long-term care, and I work with hundreds of professionals across the country, including people like Scott, who are experts in the area of taxation, as we complement one another, and we help build your financial team to make you financially secure.
I love it, Neil, and isn't that the way? You know, I always said you can make a buck and be a gentleman at the same time. So that's why, you know, you and I get along so well. We both also have a great sense of humor, which in this life you have to have, right, Neil?
Absolutely. And I'm very saddened that, you know, I was telling you before about hearing about Bob Saget.
I know.
Because what everybody said is, what a nice guy. What a genuinely nice person. You don't hear that about people. Mm-hmm. And what he said, like in an interview recently, he says, I like to make people laugh. That makes me feel good. That's why I'm doing comedy. He wasn't doing it for the money. He was doing it for the passion. He loved what he did, and he liked making other people feel good about themselves and everything. Yeah. Like you do, like I do, right. Even though we're in professions that are like, oh, why are you doing that? But, you know, we want people to be financially and medically and, you know, and healthy and wealthy. Sure. And, you know, it all comes into play. Life is not just about, you know, insurance and taxes, that's for sure.
Ooh, what you just said. Well, it's true. And you know something, it's not about every dollar. And Neil and I had a quick conversation, then we'll get into some business in a minute. Whenever you meet somebody, you say, how are you? And everybody starts out with great.
Great, yeah.
And you talk to them long enough, and by the end of the conversation, the hand is on the forehead, they're sweating. Oh, did I tell you about this one who's blind, and this one had a heart problem? And all of a sudden, you know what? It's like peeling an onion. It ain't so great, but we have to rejoice in our blessings, Neil.
Absolutely.
And we try to do that. So let's share some of your knowledge and whatever I have with the radio listeners. And I want to talk to people. It's 2022. You may want to start a new business, but what are your choices of entities? It's very important that you put thought into everything you do. You just can't say, oh, I'm going to be this and that, and later on find out, well, maybe that was a mistake. So an individual could be a sole proprietor. You're not really giving yourself any real liability protection from contracts and torts that way. But you'll file a Schedule C to the 1040. It's not a separate return filing. The income is taxed on your return. If you want certain protections, then maybe you can set up an LLC. If you're a professional, like an accountant, and you're a single practitioner, no employees, then, just do a PLLC. If you have employees, still do a PLLC, but you'll need a couple of EINs. And that'll give you the protection, perhaps, from contractual issues and torts, but not from gross negligence. That's not a get-out-of-jail-free situation. Other choices of entities out there are the corporate structure, okay? It's a lot more formal with state filings, and before you set yourself up in those things, you want to know what's the end game, what's the goal, right? Do I want financing later on? Well, I tell people you can start out as an LLC. Let's say you're a sole proprietor, Neil, and then you want to go into partnership with somebody. Well, you could take that LLC and go into a partnership. You'll need a different EIN number. But let's say you want to incorporate later on. Then you can make a Section 7701 election to be treated as a corporation, and you can file Form 2553 if you want it to be a flow-through entity and be taxed as an S corporation.
Well, Scott, that's way over my head. I got to tell you, I'm honestly.
Well,
I know. When I start a business, though, I have to say this, and this is, I think, the key thing to take away is speak to a professional as you're going into business. Sit with Scott. Sit with an insurance professional. I made a mistake when I started my corporation, and I didn't know, because it was just me and one employee, that I needed workers' comp. Yeah. And I sat with somebody who sold me P&C insurance, and they didn't tell me what I needed. They didn't ask me the questions, but I didn't ask them the questions. And next thing you know, I'm slapped with a big fine. And I'm starting out in business. I'm going, holy crap, why do I have to pay $1,500, which is today maybe is not as big as it was then. And I'm like, this isn't right. Nobody told me I needed to buy this. Yeah. But I didn't ask the question. I didn't reach out to Scott. I didn't reach out to somebody that does property and casualty insurance that tells me what are all the insurances I need, not just what kind of corporation do I set up. Right. That's really step 2 is, first off, what do I need? I'm opening up my shingle. Do I just open up my shingle and say, ha la 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 la? Or do I go to an attorney or a CPA or an insurance and say, okay, let me go to the attorney and say, what kind of business should I form? Right. This is the type of business I do. Maybe I need some extra protection. For instance, I know guys who are buying and selling real estate. Well, there's a lot of shows on the radio, but they're buying and selling real estate. Yeah. And they're renting it out or renovating it and doing this and doing that. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of CPAs have recommended, well, you really should have or attorneys I've talked to, should have an LLC for those things. Because what if somebody slips and falls on your property? What if this? It gives you a little more protection. Right. As well as the insurance, by the way. Exactly. But it's an extra layer of protection. Yes. And everything else.
Yes. Neil, you are an excellent businessman. That I know. But the key takeaway from what you just said is you can't know it all. The more you know, the more you realize how much you don't know. And you need to get your professional's advice. You can't say, well, I read this and that. You have to put everything together. You need your insurance expert, your CPA, your attorney to be in on the master plan. And it's not set it up, put it away, and forget about it. Because the only thing constant is change in life.
Absolutely. Right? Daily life.
That's right. Well, we don't know that.
Well, it is. The last couple of years, it's like, holy crap, our businesses have all changed dramatically.
And the interesting thing about this environment, Neil, is there's going to be future changes, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, you look what's going on with AI and one day quantum computing. And now they're doing this NFT stuff with the megaverse and whatever that's going to bring. So that's going to be exciting. But on the other hand, I don't know enough about these things not to ask an expert.
Right.
Because the last thing you and I need are left hooks. And that's why insurance is uber important, people. What you buy, when you buy, don't just go cheap because it may end up hurting you in the long run. Again, my name's Scott Cheslowitz. My website, www.rothenbergpeters.com, 516-773 3200. You're going to see smiling faces on that website, but you're going to get expert advice, and I'm always trying to keep up and be proactive. Neil, real quick again, how do they reach you?
So I could be reached at 631-647-4694 or mainstreetplanninggroup.com.
I tell you, Neil, I love doing these shows. Why? At the very least, I think we're helping people.
Absolutely.
You know, and every once in a while, somebody says to me, "Hey, you're that radio guy." and I've always said I have a face for radio, and you know that. Anyway, we will be back with another segment in just a moment. Scott Cheslowitz again, back and better than ever with Tax Talk. Again, my guest this week is the one and only Neil Himmelstein. And Neil's great. We both share a great sense of humor. And Neil, welcome back for segment 2.
Thank you. I'm excited.
And Neil, quickly again, how do they reach you?
631-647-4694 or mainstreetplanninggroup.com.
And my website, www.rothenbergpeters.com, 516-773-3200. Neil, you and we're always talking about getting a team together, the right team, people who are willing to communicate with each other for the client's best interest, not someone from here or there, and someone that, and unfortunately, there are people out there that won't give the time of day. They're constantly watching the clock, but somebody who has your best interest at heart, because every person that we take on as a client is important. That person has family, they have issues. So I treat everybody the same, Neil, whether they're my lowest billing client or my highest billing client. Obviously, the highest billing client demands more of my time, so that's probably why they're the highest billing client, whether they're a business or an individual. And I'm sure you put your heart into it with your clients as well.
Yep, absolutely. You know, people call. It's funny, I had a call after my last show about I had someone who ran a real estate company, and I had a woman who wanted to sell her house.
Yeah.
And but her house was in an LLC, and how can she sell the house and do it efficiently? And I recommended not only the realtor, but I also got her in touch with an attorney who wanted to make sure that the LLC, that she could sell the house, that she could do what she wanted to do and move on later in life and do what she wanted to do. So it wasn't about insurance. It was really about planning and putting her team together.
Right.
So we've been communicating about her plan and her action plan, and she was very happy and continually working with us. But at the end of the day, your plan needs to work together, and you need to be smart enough not to rely on a computer to give you all the freaking answers, because it's not.
Right.
For you people that are doing taxes by yourself and doing this by yourself, believe me, you're making mistakes that are costing you more money.
Yep.
You're not saving time by not seeking out a professional, and you're not saving money. You're probably costing yourself tons of money and tons of time. And besides that, you're leaving yourself exposed to dangers you don't even know about.
Neil, you made a great point there about not just relying on your computer. We use arguably the best tax software out there, and I will not let a computer tell me tax law. So everybody reviews what's going on in the return down to taxable income at a minimum, because my staff they're communicators first. They're going to get questions during the year, before and after. And the bottom line is they need to have a nice toolbox of answers. But there's times we find a glitch in the system, and I have to call technical and say, why is it doing this? It should be doing that. So people, as Neil was pointing out, don't just rely on a computer. Don't just rely on what you read on the internet, because you know what? It's not the whole story. You need to put things together. Like, it's not exactly Rubik's Cube, but you need to line up certain aspects of what you're doing so that particular system you just set up works right for you in every aspect.
And the thing that Scott and myself and other professionals bring is they bring years of experience, not just their own experience, but many, many hundreds and thousands of clients over the years who may have had similar situations or similar things done. I compare it to so many things like building my house. I want my roofer to work with my plumber.
Yeah.
Because I want, I don't want him to do one thing on my roof that's going to affect my plumbing. And then I got to get a tile guy in to fix my tiles because the plumbing guy did it, and we find this all the time.
Right.
Find somebody you like and trust.
Mm-hmm.
And if you need somebody in another area, ask their opinion. Get a referral person from them to handle your specific situation and make sure they're working together for you. You are the boss of your own life.
Yes.
Your own business. Make sure everything is working for you, and make sure that you don't be embarrassed that you don't know something.
Right. Exactly. The more you know, the more you realize how much you don't. And people, you are signing your returns. You are responsible for what goes on that return.
Right.
Look it over before you sign it. Ask questions.
Please.
I enjoy questions, and Neil, so do you with what you do. And the thing is, we want to be proactive. Putting out fires later on can be very costly for you. Not having the right coverage or not knowing something was on your return that didn't belong there. I've got to tell you, the people that travel in my circles, they're all top-notch professionals. They're good at what they do. They deserve whatever business they have and more. But like every walk of life, Neil, there's others, well, I'll prepare some returns and I'll go play golf.
Right.
And then there's the ones that don't sign returns. Those are called ghost preparers. Somebody who's not willing to sign a return when they get paid, well, that should tell you something, people. I better be careful and not utilize those services because I'm at risk.
And that's a great point. Having a CPA do your tax return is really insurance on your taxes. If you get called by the IRS, I want my guy to go. I'm not going. I don't want to. Listen, I can't explain what happened on line 73B. I have no freaking clue.
Oh, I'll tell you about 73B.
Well, exactly. But that's the key. When you have a CPA sign that document, he is representing you on taxes in his area of expertise. Mm-hmm. So if there's anything the IRS questions, he's the man that's going to go there and explain it to him.
Yep, and I will tell you, your CPA needs to be a prideful person. Not somebody who's going to condescend when a client asks questions over and over, but they need to take pride in their product.
No.
Look for that, people, please. Neil, you are an expert at what you do, but the field keeps changing, right, in terms of insurance law,
absolutely,
the state and everything else. Obviously, the same thing with tax law. Believe it or not, Neil, they keep us on our toes.
No, they keep us on our toes. Not only are we having the laws change, I don't think I think the tax laws change more frequently than the insurance laws, but the insurance product and the services that the insurance companies have change more frequently or as frequently as tax laws.
Yeah.
Which is, at this point, 4 or 5 times a year, particularly in the state of New York, we have much less product than the rest of the country.
Right. And so you need somebody that not only will give you a comprehensive plan today, but you don't mind. You feel comfortable picking up the phone and talking to them tomorrow. this isn't about sales. I'm on the radio, but to be honest with you, I'm here to provide you a service, and I want to know you at least 10 years from now, and I want to say, am I the person I said I was? I want you to kiss babies for me.
I feel the same way, and your children.
Yeah, kiss your children.
And your family. I talk about this a lot. It's important, and I had a marital attorney approach me about doing a show with him.
Yeah.
And the biggest issue with marital issues comes down to finance and communication. Wouldn't you say that?
I agree.
It's finance and communication. Because the breadwinner may feel entitled or not entitled, or one person's paying the bills and the other one doesn't know what's going on, and then there's a mistrust, and there's anger, and there's miscommunication. And you know what?
Yes.
That's the biggest problem people have in business and personally.
Speaking of communication, they're pulling us off with that vaudeville cane.
Oh, my goodness.
Everybody, I will speak to you next week. I hope you enjoyed the show with Neil Himmelstein. Take care.
Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.